The Caribbean islands. From Cuba, they arc over 1,000 miles of sea to the South American coast, forming a chain of coral and volcanic specks of land that defines the boundary between the Caribbean Sea and the Atlantic. Columbus referred to these islands as the Indies. Today, the term West Indies is commonly used throughout the islands. The majority of people on these islands are dark-skinned. Thus, most trace their ancestry back to Africans that were imported to this part of the world as slaves. Although African traditions have been blurred through time, some evidence lingers in such things as folklore, music, and dance.
As long as you remember, if I never someone but Pusha, listen up in Trinidad and Steel Bang and Italian soul. She want pan, she want pan, she want pan. She want sweet, sweet rhythm of the Steel Bang. She want the thing, pound, pound, 50 things, down, down. She want the thing, pound, down.
Needless to say, some of the most colorful forms of dance occur during holidays and festivals. There is ample proof of the colonial past. On most islands, laws and government, architecture and plantations reveal European origins. A good cane cutter is still much in demand, but life on plantations has changed noticeably over the years. Mechanization has seen to that. And land developers are making an impact also. Systems of education are further examples of a European heritage. A much more formal approach to education characterizes most schools. In colonies previously governed by Britain, students take to cricket in the same way North American kids enjoy football or hockey. Even if it means playing in a pasture, cricket is a major pastime.
Not affected. No, man. No, the height of the ball, I think it's time over the middle.
Similarly, other sports activities unmistakably reflect the influence of European colonialism. The past has given way to a new kind of Caribbean, one that is relying heavily on the tourist industry. Even though this industry has provided jobs for a few, it has done little to help raise the standard of living for the majority of local peoples.
Many of the whites that are involved in tourism want to preserve some sort of a secret section for themselves. Things that are known not to be good, they're doing. And I mean, including ripping off tourists. I mean, this is no hidden secret. And yet they would like to put the blame on the blacks. Keep away from the blacks. Don't be with the blacks. But it's the blacks that are the chauffeurs, the cooks, the butlers, the waiters. It's the blacks that are the boys running boats and doing all sorts of things. I think that I look forward into the future. I think that I would like to see all of the people in the country participating, black and white, rich and poor, enjoying the life.
Unfortunately, the good life is for those who can pay for it. The gap between the fantasy world of the tourist and the reality of day-to-day living for local residents is encouraging immigration. And Canada is highly regarded as a destination.
Jody, come here. Jody, you go. Why is he filming
Now, where's that knife I had here a moment ago? You know, West Indians have adapted remarkably well here in Canada, despite the long winters. And particularly here in Alberta, because there's so many jobs available. Indeed, West Indians have entered into trades, professions, and businesses that represent a great variety of job situations. There are perhaps 10,000 West Indians in Alberta. They represent individuals with all sorts of skills. Lloyd B. Harry, he's a good example of what I mean. He used to train racehorses in Trinidad. And with this experience, it seems he's found no trouble in obtaining his trainer's license here. I see West Indians becoming more and more self-employed, and small businesses are on the increase. Now these centres, they help to bring people from the Caribbean together, and they offer a place where news and information is exchanged. But in Edmonton and Calgary, these are the cities with the majority of West Indians. These businesses could be located in any part of the city, and places of residence follow the same pattern. Hence, one cannot really define the West Indian community by its physical bounds. There is no part of the city that one could call the West Indian community. You wouldn't find that. People live just about anywhere. In fact, you would find most family people living in the suburbs rather than in town.
Jim. So you're going to leave it as big as that? Bigger than this?
No, it's not that wide. It's just long.
I still think they're just too wide.
We should get a man from the journal over here.
Who? Or his son.
Or his son.
We could do something.
Peter, what is happening to your public relations work?
I didn't have a public relations man at all.
But that's what you're supposed to do. You must have a public relations officer, right?
So that's like Lance. You don't need that.
What?
I did some at the Discord.
No, actually all you have to do is the phone, the son, and tell him.
We'll phone check.
I hear,
Yeah, that's a grand idea.
It is really social events that are important in giving the community its identity and structure. And you know West Indians, they love to get out and enjoy themselves. Participating in civic projects has always been the policy of various West Indian groups and associations. Klondike Days, the participation there is an example. Now, Heritage Days. That's another opportunity when the West Indian community brings a little bit of the Caribbean to the people of Edmonton. There's always music, there's dancing, and of course, Caribbean cuisine. That's the order of the day. And if the weather really holds out, there is such a wonderful time. That's one way that they share a bit of their culture with other people of Edmonton.
That's very good. So for that, at least we think we've embarked on a...
Now, community involvement of another kind comes in the form of a weekly TV program that's on cable TV. It's produced by West Indians, and it includes things like advice on makeup, some cooking, some Caribbean news and local news. If you haven't seen it, it's called Caribbean Perspective.
Good show, everybody. Thank you very much, Peter.
Go ahead, caller.
Okay, thank you.
Maybe we're disconnected there. Yeah, I don't know if Judy is still control. I told some of the people that hold on.
Yeah, okay.
Oh, that was a long hour.
Yeah.
The microphone.
Yes, that's it.
Anyone wants to wet the whistle with some water?
Yeah.
H2O?
Oh, yes.
Sorry.
Critics.
We have them right here. That was very tense. No, that was good, really good. Took a lot of energy.
West Indians can't live without it. Even in church you have music.
Okay, our form of worship in the West Indies, especially in the apostolic doctrine, we believe in worshiping with music and clapping of hands and worship God joyfully, because that's coming from the heart. And in the West Indies, we are very, very enthused about this. That's what seems to make us to be outstanding from other folks that worship. Because, you know, some folks said, okay, we are noisy. That's okay, because God wants nice, but he wants good nice. You know, the music of the world, people go and they worship and they dance to their music and they turn it up loud and it gets through the ears and everybody enjoy. So that's another way of enjoying music. But our music, we find it is constructive to our soul and it's satisfying to our desire. After we finish singing and shouting and clapping and praising God, then we feel that after that there is a satisfaction. We forget about our problems, we forget about our troubles in the time of worshiping and things like that. And by the time we get out of worship, then we have the remembrance of the beautiful time we had singing and praising, playing music, guitar, whatever music, the tambourine, but the best music of all is the clapping of hands. And of course, that's internationally. But we really are enthused in this, and that's the only way we know how to worship, especially to worship God. That's the only way we know how, is to worship him in spirit and in truth with the music that's outward instrumental music, and also with the music that are in our hearts.
Music is indeed food for the soul. I don't think there's a West Indian who could visualize a world without music. In any large Canadian city, I bet you could find a Trinidadian who would be making steel drums for the local West Indian musicians. Here in Edmonton, there's Jimmy Phillips. He works part-time tuning and making steel drums.
Yeah, well, I started making these steel drums back in Trinidad. Well, we call it pans back in Trinidad, but in North America they call it steel drums. Well, it's made from a 45-gallon oil drum. First, the bottom of the barrel is stretched in, you know, to look like a bowl, down to about it goes down to about 8 inches. Then after that we draw in the pattern, like, you know, the design, and then the grooves. We put the grooves to separate the sound, and then after that it's cut to the length, and then we heat it up on a fire and temper it, and the last stage is to tune it by, you know, putting in the song on the different pitches, and this is also done by hammering until the sound is there, you know.
Hon, don't forget, I have a cricket match this afternoon, okay?
That's all right. I'm almost finished here. West Indian men. I tell you, next to music, sports is the most important thing on their list. This fondness of sports, it's deeply ingrained into the Caribbean cultural tradition. But many of the sports enjoyed by West Indians are not particularly popular in Canada. Games such as netball and soccer and cricket. Now cricket. That's perhaps the most popular sport in what used to be called the British West Indies. But it's not familiar to most Canadians. This would be a very important feature of the West Indian male. That's the way he spends the greater part of his weekend. And the women are not averse to taking part in cricket. For instance, my husband's youngest sister, she's a cricketer. She knows more about the game than any man could possibly know. And in the West Indies, cricket is not only a sporting event, it is a social event. That's the occasion for a picnic, for the family to get out and to meet friends. It's an all-day affair where people sit around and they eat and they cheer on their team and they comment on various things. It is not only a sporting event.
Soba's been 9. Soba's been 9. Soba's is the first captain, the rest is Captain Peter. Soba's is the first West Indies captain.
Yeah, and the next one.
One more!
One more!
One more ball of fire! One more ball!
One more ball! Well, now you have a life! Now you have a life! Take advantage of it! Don't jump a man like that. Don't do that. You're gonna make one.
Not that. No boys. Right now, man.
Oscar, take advantage now. Whip him.
What? You got a chance?
And an easy chance to.
Run two! Hey man, y'all getting sloppy. Let's get this wicket. I just say to make it nice for them to understand. Hey Captain, get out that sloppy feeling.
And you know what else is dear to West Indian heart? West Indian cuisine. Willis and Jody, is the table ready?
Yeah. That, when we have West Indian food as such, every now and then, you know, like we would make a little callaloo or we make a little
because it's not really practical
like
to keep up that.
That's right. But anytime we have friends over, or Canadian friends, and we are entertaining, we make it a point of preparing and serving foods that we consider West Indian foods, you know, and served and done up the way we would do it in the West Indies. That's one point. And it's at that point I would bring out my bottle of rum and say, well, you've got to taste some rum from the West Indies, and I would offer my Canadian friend.
And serve Tia Maria.
And that is in that way, we maintain, and we think the kids are aware of what West Indian food is and how it's prepared and what it's like. And we find it's a treat, always a nice treat of our friends to serve West Indian food.
Yeah, it's a treat for us too.
That's right.
A capacity for hope. I think this is part of a West Indian. It has to be, because Well, it has to be true for people who venture to leave home and to settle in a foreign place. This is a foreign place in terms of it being foreign in climate. This is something that we as kids never experienced. And to be able to come and adapt and be happy in it is something special. You know?
And I think that, as you rightly say, that in itself is something that the West Indians will bring to the Albertan community. You know, in the sense that there are a lot of cultural things that they have, cultural values, you know.
Oh, for sure.
I think that what a West Indian brings with him when he's in Canada is an attitudes to life. Because quite frequently on some terrible, miserable winter days, you know, when you have a minus 30 and a 35, you do get these reflections or these moments where you say to yourself, what the hell am I doing in this place? You know what I mean?
What are we doing
you know,
here? You know?
But I think maybe some of those pleasant memories you had as a child of the sun shining every day and the sea being on your back door. You know, you could just run down to the beach. You don't have to take a car or take a plane to go to the beach. Maybe that is what keeps you ticking, and that is what shapes the way you view life. And nobody can take that.
Yes, it's a sort of expecting the sun to shine.
Sure.
You know, that is, it's almost part of you. You've grown with it. You were born into it. You grow with it. It's within you.